You picked a great week to watch the CIRF report, this one for August 12th through August 18th. We have a full moon in effect, but that is far from the only influence out there, and there's going to be quite a few curveballs this week. It's going to pay big dividends to pay attention to this entire broadcast. All of the technologies that we're using all have the same kind of flavor to it. And we're going to go to our summary slide. This is the highest congruency week that we've had with a 0.95. Some people could argue that it's a full 1.0 because everything is directly overlapping each other. And the only reason why the astrology is outside the confines of the Dreambot and the I-Ching is because there's more humdingers, more tricky alignments that we will get into. We have a T-square. We have Venus and the Sun going conjunct. And what that means, that's in the Dreambot. We have the full moon on Thursday. And then we have Mercury square Uranus. And then Mars is going to go into Virgo. We're going to get into all this. And I'm going to change up the order today. The first thing I want to do is show the I-Ching. I'm going to hold up the Dreambot for later after the astrology so that you can, I think it's easier to see the astrology first, see what the influences are, kind of get that taste, and then see what the dreamers are dreaming. It's really, in my mind, it's crazy. All right, so let's get started with the I-Ching reading for the first time. We had a little young one casting the coins for this I-Ching reading, and she threw a hexagram 5, which is called nourishment. It's also called waiting. Thus the superior man eats and drinks, is joyous and of good cheer. That's the Book of Changes. Now, as I read this context, I want you to remember that this is the influence. The first hexagram represents the main energetic influence for the week. And because we're changing this, this change line 3, that second one's going to be the solution. We're going to talk about the solution after we get through the whole influence, after the astrology and the Dreambot and all that. All right. So the influence is the superior man eats and drinks, is joyous and of good cheer. That's from the Book of Changes. We should not worry and seek to shape the future by interfering in things before the time is ripe. This is going to match one of the main influences in the astrological alignment to a T, because Venus going combust, and that's, might as well talk about it now because it's matching this description. Venus is going to conjunct perfectly. We've been talking about this for a week or so, maybe a couple. Is going to go conjunct with the Sun. And when a planet goes conjunct with the Sun, you got mega of that energy, almost too much of that energy to where it's it's like over effective. And so with Venus being over effective in Leo wants to be flamboyant and seen and recognized, and has those kind of tendencies to be in the public light. Venus wants to be sensual and harmonious and beautiful and enjoy everything. And so we can see here that it's just going to be the influence might be wanting to party, wanting to indulge. And that matches what this hexagram 5 is. It's nourishment. It's let's forget about the future and let's just splurge and enjoy what we have right now. Let's not worry and worry about the future. That's the influence. Okay. All right. So we've got the groundwork laid. Let's go into the astrology. It starts off on Monday with a lot of crazy things already. All these circles are conjunct. We have a conjunction with the moon. Jupiter's going station. We have two of these far out planets, Uranus and Jupiter, going station on the same day, but they're going the different directions. Uranus has been going direct. So Uranus is going to go station and then go retrograde. Jupiter's been retrograde this time and is going to go station and now proceed direct. And then you've got Mercury. We've already talked about going into Leo, matching all the other the other 3 planets that are already there. Not really much to say here. I mean, I could go into a lot of details, but this is not the main influences of the week, but it is important to at least discuss, or at least to show you. It's just depth of emotion, but there's superficiality with thoughts. That's mainly with the Mercury going into Leo. So let's move on. I mean, I could go on for lots of time on that previous slide. But here we're starting to see one of the main influences, and this is this, you see this triangle here. This is called a T-square in astrology, and I should do this. All right, so no, we've got the highlighter out. T-square with Uranus, Mercury, Moon, and this is this Mercury square Uranus aspect is not exact yet. That's going to go exact on Friday. And so, but, you know, this influence is gradually getting stronger and stronger. But this aspect is exact. Moon oppose Mercury. So the need for balancing thoughts and emotions, and this conundrum that we might end up being in on the afternoon of Tuesday is going to probably produce some insights or some changes or some unexpected maybe delays, or you know, well, Mercury being a little part of travel and short-term commutes, this might be a unexpected delay in traffic or a change of plans in general. But nonetheless, your thoughts and your emotions are going to be in conflict. Okay, that's going to be mainly on Tuesday afternoon. And Tuesday afternoon, I am planning on doing another report for this Venus combust going conjunct with Sun plus the full moon. I want to capture those two together because when we get into Wednesday, I'm going to keep this Mercury square Uranus in here because, you know, as this gradually gets more and more of an influence, Uranus being kind of wanting to break out and be unique and individual, Mercury now wanting to be seen, or at least thinking about being seen, in Leo. And so that could be strikingly odd or strange, or feeling like maybe some quick insights, some very disruptive changes in your life. And not necessarily bad. I mean, these this sign here is a sign of a genius. With, if this is in your natal chart, Mercury, that controls the mind and thoughts and rational and logic, with Uranus is very insightful, but wanting to be unique, wanting to break out and change everything. And so with that square there, there's that constant pressure to change. And so that's the influence that you're going to see stronger and stronger as we go through the week. Now, that has nothing to do with the Venus conjunct Sun, but it's a very important aspect. It'll get growing stronger throughout the week. So here now we have early in the morning on Wednesday morning, Venus conjunct Sun. And like I said, if you get too close to the Sun, you get burned. Well, in this case, it's the same thing. It's like the Venus in Leo is very, can be very sensual, but very indulgent. I want to have a tendency to overdo all these things that feel good. And then finance. So shopping, you know, might be a problem. Over shopping, overindulging, excesses. That's the problem. And with the Sun there, if you do go into those indulgences, which is the influence, then you may get burned. That's literally the concept here from the astrology, the I-Ching, and the Dreambot. So hang on to that, because we are going to get into the full moon. That's on Thursday morning at 7:30. That's Central Daylight Time. It's the same thing as Eastern Standard Time. I don't think anybody's on Standard Time right now in the U.S., but so anyway, this is Central Time, 7:30 a.m. in Aquarius. The moon in Aquarius, directly opposing Venus, which is still conjunct with the Sun. And so you've got that emotion of excesses. And then what's bizarre is here is the moon is emotionally distant, emotionally separating. That's the Aquarian feel, is I can kind of look from a distance. I don't really have to feel all these things. And so the full moon being a time of kind of letting go. If the sun gives, the sun burns, the sun's very yang. The moon is very yin and receives, but only receives that which you give her. And so in this Aquarian thing, this is the time to be giving her what you've identified in your need for excesses or your tendency to indulge yourself. Those types of things would be great to sacrifice on this full moon in Aquarius, because with that, I mean, there's obviously problems when you go into excess. Okay, so that's not the hard part. But the neat thing here is that as you grieve those losses of those good times or good energies or good memories, you've got the Aquarian kind of nonchalantness to you. You've got the Aquarian kind of distance on your side. And then you've got the moon, obviously, that takes whatever you give it energetically. Now, as soon as the moon transitions a little bit further, then it's going to make a complete opposition or a perfect opposition to Mars. And that's later in the evening. So about 12 hours after the full moon, now you've got the moon in, opposite to Mars. And so the same exact thing applies, is Mars in Leo wants to overindulge as well, and maybe not to the sensualness of the Venus, but getting a lot of stuff done and needing recognition and all that. That's a form of excess. And so Aquarians typically don't like that public recognition, or kind of fearing it just in general. And so that emotion is not needing that public recognition anymore, needing to be accepted, sure, like a normal human being, but not needing to be recognized for the humanitarian work that you're doing. Aquarius is known for that humanitarian collective goodwill. And so this is that energy. And giving all the rest of the materialistic, egotistical stuff, giving that back to the moon and making a ceremony out of it would be a wonderful way to improve yourself in this process. All right. Now we go into Friday, and Friday is, like I said, the Mercury going exact with Uranus at midday, 12 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Uranus in retrograde. This is not going to last a long time because Mercury whips around the sky pretty quick. But nonetheless, this is still going to be here pretty much this entire week, going direct or going exact on Friday. Chances for misunderstandings, but changing perspectives. And this is not always a bad thing, but it may not feel all that great. Especially, well, if you've got your outlet on Friday, when these changes, when you start noticing this energy the strongest, your outlet is going to be the sextile to the moon. And your emotions will become your growth opportunity, will become your outlet, if you will. Because if this gets too strong, then we need to do what we did in the last week, which is diffuse with those energetic emotions, but not react off of them. Just notice them. And that in return will go right back to Uranus inside yourself, and get the insights that you need. Then get the download into your logical mind, your rational mind, to on how to change and how to get further in life, and maybe some insights on how to navigate this new change that Uranus has thrown you. All right, now let's get into Saturday. This is the weekend. And we still have, this is probably still pretty strong, the Mercury square Uranus. And we have now the moon conjunct with Neptune. and the various aspects from there. But could be kind of a dreamy day. Whenever something changes suddenly like this with Uranus, whether or not it's good or bad, it's irrelevant. It's just a shock to your system, and so that's kind of makes it a little bit dreamy. But the moon passing over Neptune makes it very dreamy, and so Saturday may feel very kind of like fantasy, like maybe perhaps lazy, but more just maybe wanting to escape with drugs and alcohol. If you're not that, then maybe mentally, I'm not saying that you should, I'm just saying that this is kind of the influence of moon over Neptune. It's just very dreamy and could be very creative, but it's not based in reality and can throw you some really weird tests, if you will, on your reality testing. And if there's one thing that you need to do on Saturday, it's reality testing, which is, look at the clock and see if it makes sense. Here's a trick for dreaming versus reality. This is a trick that we use for lucid dreaming, is you practice looking at a clock, then look away, then look at the clock again. And if it's a different time, then you might be in a dream. If it's the same time, then you might be in reality. I mean, this is the kind of reality testing. Another test that we do for lucid dreaming is practicing looking at your hand constantly, because if you're in your dream, your hand tends to, well, for a lot of people, it tends to morph. And so that's how you know that you're in the dream. If you look at your hand and you habituate that, then you're going to look at your hand in your dream. And if you're in your dream and you see your hand is all weird, bing, you wake up in a lucid dream. So this is a great opportunity for that, but also for this Mercury aspect with Uranus, because your system might be in shock. So regardless if it's a good or bad aspect for you. On Sunday, then I put this is waning as Mercury is getting closer to the sun. That energy is dissipating. The moon has got a square over to Jupiter and a sextile over to Pluto. But the point of this slide, I want to highlight down here, Mars going into Virgo. And this really is a big change. Mars doesn't like to be nitpicked and slowed down by practicality and all that. It just wants to go and do stuff and get stuff done and even fight and gets aggressive. And, now that in Virgo, we've got to be, he's kind of has to be in the details and his nose to the grind. But, this analogy with Mars kind of, he's been in this excess of Leo for quite some time. And so heading into Virgo is kind of like waking up the day after a big party, maybe hungover, and like you're waking up like, oh my God, look at all this stuff everywhere and it's messy and I've got to clean up. And that's the Virgo. I've got to clean, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I got to take care of myself. And it's almost like looking back at and blaming your time in Leo and kind of going, what did I do with my time and why did I do all this? So you might experience that energy, and that does go along with the full moon and the Venus conjunct Sun. It's all connected. And so with that, I want to show you the DreamBot. Let's go. This is the collective dreams. And you see in the red arrows, this is the excesses. We've got traveling, we have shopping, clothing, and I think even shopping is in here. We have playing, we have drinking alcohol, shots, using drugs. We're getting blessed left and right. Bring shop. Yeah, shop is in here. So it's all about excesses and indulgence. It's crazy how these things match up. But then what also matches up is that it might be the influence to be excessive and indulgent, but you're going to have some karmic consequences. And that's what the blue arrows signify. Gun, war. That's, war is a conflict, remains. You're going to have the remains left from your excesses gone, and then missing and die even. So there's a lot of negative type karma that is also in the dream bot. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then you have the spiritual concepts in the orange arrows. The guru and God has always been there. Eternal. This is eternal. Present, past. And the only thing missing here is future, but all these time things, excuse me. So Monday and Tuesday, even Saturday are on there. So days of the week are on there. It's eternal. And the spiritual eternalness is a part of this solution. Okay. That's what I'm going to get into next with the solution slide from the I-Ching. So this was the influence 5, and then we put in. I want to read the change line before we go into the solution or the change hexagram. So with this dot here on the 9 in the 3rd place means waiting in the mud, brings about the arrival of the enemy. Mud is no place for waiting, since it is already being washed by the water of the stream. Instead of having gathered strength to cross the stream at one try, one has made a premature start that has got him no farther than the muddy bank. Such an unfavorable position invites enemies from without, who naturally take advantage of it. And so, in context, so this was kind of the general influence from the hexagram 5, but the tossing of these coins want to make it specifically 9 in the 3rd place means that it is not a time to really be waiting out there in the mud. And so that's the segue to the solution. So what do we do instead? What do we do instead of being joyous? And it doesn't mean you can't be joyous and good cheer. It just means that any part of your excesses go to getting burned. So, for example, as a drug and alcohol counselor, I know that THC can make your endocannabinoid system balanced. But the problem is, and our studies have shown that any excess THC can actually damage, destroy, and the destruction caused by the THC is largely unknown because we haven't done the test on the just kind of the bastardized marijuana plant that has been GMO'd and been changed throughout the years. It's a whole different animal, but not literally. But anyway, getting back to the THC, so we have a small portion of it, particularly the one that has all the phytocannabinoids, can make the endocannabinoid system pure again. It can bring it back from dysfunction, because a lot of things can make the endocannabinoid system dysfunctional. The problem is that most people will go to the excesses, and that excess will damage the CB1 receptors, causing probably for most people anxiety, lack of sleep, maybe even panic attacks, and there's other extreme cases there. And the people who've been off of these drugs, even abstinence alone does not cure the damage caused by the THC. So there's a lot of research out there, not really in the US yet, but from other countries. And it's fascinating. I don't know. It's just really, but it's an example of, it's not that you can't go out and have your fun. If that's the influence and you do it right and you do it smartly and you're not taking it to an excessive level, then you're not going to have a problem. Wednesday is going to be, Thursday. Well, Wednesday, Thursday with that full moon energy, even with the Venus conjunct Sun, is going to be a great time to invest in your relationships. If you need rekindling, this is a great time to do that. It's just not going to excess, not going to extremes, because those will pay, but otherwise going to the points of that make sense for you and your situation, and that are somewhat rational. So you want to put some logic to it so that you're not just going out impulsively, getting high, getting drunk, and all the other indulgences that may not be healthy for you. I would avoid those. So, oh my gosh, I didn't even put the other slide on. So, all right, hold on. Let me. Oh. All right, if you hang on for a second, I will get the second slide up. Here is, and there. All right, so in limitation is for hexagram 60. Water over lake. This is from the Book of Changes. The image of limitation. Thus the superior man creates number and measure and examines the nature of virtue and correct conduct. That might sound like gibberish, but mainly we're looking at virtue and good conduct. The individual, this is also from the Book of Changes. The individual achieves significance through discrimination and the setting of limits. To become strong, she needs the limitations ordained by duty and voluntarily accepted. She needs to accept these limitations and duty and those kinds of things. Then the Ray of I-Ching says, the acceptance of limitation is the first step in transcendence. Now that's really crazy because the Dreambot had that kind of spiritual overtones to it, but the very karmic consequences were clearly there. All right, so now we go back out of that and head into our summary slides. This is National Dream Center going out tomorrow on Monday morning. Venus Combust, a time when egoic desires are impossible to ignore, but excesses and indulgences will burn you. Then here is the intervention slideshow. And if you like these, this one gives you the influence, the main influence, and the solution. So the influence is, in summary, Venus conjunct Sun in Leo, and then excesses, desire, and overindulgence. And our solution is actually another alignment, the full moon in Aquarius. It's time to eliminate the excesses before you get burned. And you get helped by, at the end of the week, if you didn't do this right, or even if you did do this right, you get help from Mars going into Virgo and really getting in there and resolving everything. It's not like Mars likes to be in Virgo, but it's a good place for kind of cleaning up house. You've already gotten rid of your excesses, hopefully, your overindulgences. And now Virgo asks Mars to pay attention to the goal. By the way, you look at where the full moon was. We'll just go to that slide. And it's in Aquarius. So the solution in Sidereal would be the Capricorn influence. And the Capricorn is going to be true to the cause. It's going to be goal-oriented, just like, Virgo is very duty-oriented. Well, Capricorn can do this. And so you just give this goal your energy, and the goal will take you to the top of the mountain. But in this time, the goal is kind of stripping away the excesses, not throwing your money away, not gambling too much. Don't be doing drugs and alcohol and all these things that just feel good or as an escape, but actually working your butt off to be a better person, first of all, but more harmonious and more enjoying. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the life around you. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the relationships with you. It's just not going to excess. That's it. All right, let's come back to our solution slide. Who's got questions out there? Put your comments below. Sorry to messed up that one slide, and but I'll see you on Tuesday evening. We're going to do we'll have some information as we get closer. We'll know what the dream bot is showing as far as the collective influence, and then we'll do another I-Ching reading and see what we need to be doing exactly for that full moon, and throw in the Venus conjunct Sun as well. All right, that's it. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for being here.